Leadership, or the art of controlling the public and groups, needs a set of characteristics and features that make one capable and provided with qualities and characteristics that ensure control, wise leadership and good management. Here comes the importance of the book Head, Heart and Guts to put the reader in front of the three most important capabilities that leaders must have, which are developing the strategy, empathy and taking risks. Relying on power is no longer the only behavior and the surest way to be successful in this infinite world. That is why the book suggests to have the courage to accept this change, and to deal with the new complexities in this world. Herein lies the importance of developing plans and strategies, forming relationships based on trust with others, and taking calculated risks. Head, Heart and Guts, How the World's Best Companies Develop Complete Leaders. By David L. Dotlich, Peter C. Cairo, Stephen Reinsmith. Leadership is not an arbitrary art without discretion and prudence. Therefore, in order to be a leader in the contemporary business world, a set of qualifications and characteristics must be available based on using the mind, showing feelings, and acting with courage. There is no doubt that most people today are able to show all these three traits in certain situations. But the unfortunate fact is that the majority of executive officials in various companies and institutions master only one of these capabilities, or, more precisely, they work within organizations that do not reward or motivate them to master all the capabilities. They remain partial leaders, even when their organizations need complete leaders. This confirms that the idea that leaders in the modern world have complete leadership qualities is well supported by evidence, even if it is not applied much in our realities. Hence, a leader who relies primarily on heart or courage is in fact inefficient. However, most of those who occupy a leadership position are often assigned a lower level position depending on their characteristics and approaches. Bit to remember, the real leader is the one who has the complete leadership characteristics. Creating leaders is very important but at the same time very complex. But the important thing is that in our modern world we have the necessary knowledge and tools to develop complete leaders, although most companies still have not developed themselves enough, as they rely on old methods of creating leaders. This means that a group of organizations largely waste their efforts on traditional leadership development processes that focus exclusively on education and knowledge. This negatively affects the selection, evaluation, and preparation of leaders with emotional intelligence and the required skills. Hence, companies and institutions started using techniques and methods of showing appreciation and providing rewards, and they depend on basic criteria which are achieving the goals based on the performance or bypassing them and achieving measurable results. The people who get the biggest incentives and the best promotions are the ones who achieve the best results. Some companies such as General Electric no longer focus on results only, but on the method of achieving those results, including discussion of intangible leadership characteristics such as empathy and emotional intelligence. Bit to remember, selecting, evaluating and preparing leaders with emotional intelligence and the required skills is the goal of large companies. In our modern world, there is an urgent need to rethink the way we accomplish our tasks. Since we live in a world whose main feature is achievement and competition, the need to create new ways and methods has become a need and necessity. But things are not as easy as some think. The matter is very complicated, and this is what makes companies and institutions choose many qualified leaders if they want to continue to compete, develop and succeed. Perhaps the most important thing to think about now is to reconsider leadership traits, at least in the most traditional definitions of leadership. Focusing on the trait of being wise, using your head, which is a very important trait in our era and very useful in this complex global environment. From here you need to rethink the standard operating procedures, and then you need the heart to understand the impact of rethinking on the people around you, and you also need the courage to take a risk and turn that commitment into action. Bit to remember, the modern world forces institutions and companies to break the traditional systems that make things difficult instead of facilitating them. Before we put the boundaries, we must know what are these boundaries. Boundaries are what defines the identity of companies, distinguishes them from each other, and gives them a special dimension. That is why institutions and companies have become emphasizing that a group of their employees are still unable to think about the existing boundaries in new ways. That is why redrawing boundaries was worth the time and effort. Redrawing boundaries is causing us to think about an increasingly chaotic world, where people are sticking to the old system and comfort zones. That is why complete and qualified leaders do not only redraw boundaries, but also emotionally accept the uncertainty that comes with accomplishing tasks in a new way. They can also take the risk of forming and maintaining non-traditional relationships. Because the idea of moving boundaries is the first step towards the world of success. Bit to remember, redrawing boundaries is causing us to think about an increasingly chaotic world.